เหรียญคณาจารย์5เกจิอาจารย์5เกจิ5ภาค famous monk coins and other amulets from 5 famous Buddhist guru master monks of 5 major provinces or regional areas of Thailand. This is a basic introductory look for Amulets TV and ancientamulet.com to begin to look at the authentication factors and recognition factors, and to document and catalogue the authentic amulets of all the great Buddhist masters of Thai amulet history. And with this documentary we will be choosing 5 major master monks of the 5 major provinces of Thailand, who are Luang Pu Tim of Wat Lahan Rai, Luang Po Kasem Khemago of Susan Samnak Song Susan Trailak in Lampang, พ่อท่านคลิ้งจันทศิริ an Arya Sangha from Wat Thalung Thong in Nakhon Si Thammarat, and Luang Pu Si Chantasiri of Wat Khao Tham Bun Nak in Nakhon Sawan, Luang Pu Munทิตสีโลพระมหาเถราจารย์5แผ่นดิน from วัดพันจานศรีสะเกษหลวงปู่หมุน History and synopsis of the amulets of 5 top Geji Ajahn Master Guru monks of 5 different regions of Thailand, beginning with the northern region of Thailand, or as we say in Thai, Phak Nöa, and the first Guru monk amulets which we will begin looking at are those of one of my famous, dare I say, Arahant monks. I dare say, but that is a matter of opinion. In my opinion, he is possibly an Arahant monk. Luang Po Kasem Khemago, Arya Song Heng Lana means Arya Sangha, enlightened Buddhist monk. Lana is the northern region before Thailand was called Thailand. That particular kingdom was the Lana kingdom, which means 1,000,000 fields, and is probably called so because it had 1,000,000 terraced fields. He is considered to be a Pra'apinya and has a nickname Pra'apinya Heng Kelang Nakhon. Kelang Nakhon is a very ancient or archaic name for his area of the Susan Trailak, the Tilakana crypt, which was the name of the forest temple which arose around him because he did not stay in a temple. He was the abbot of a temple, and he ran away and asked to be left alone because to practice he could not be abbot, and he left everything to stay in the forest, in the mountainside, in the cliffside. And this is now a temple called Susan Trailak, and it is in Tambon Bandong, which is a village area called Bandong, which actually means jungle village. Dong means very deep, thick, the thickets of the jungle. so it was probably very jungly there. And that was in Ampere Mueang, Lampang. So he's known to come from Lampang. Lampang was the nearest town. Ampere, from Jangwat Lampang, from the province of Lampang, because the town of Lampang, or the city of Lampang, was the capital of that province. Before we begin to look at his amulets, we should familiarize ourselves with this great monk and the amulets which are made by him or in his name. And so to look at his life is called in Thai Chatapum. His Chatapum, Lumpur Gasem, Kemago, had the birth name, the family name, and his, in Thailand you are normally called by a nickname which is given by a family. So they called him Jau Gasem, Nat Lampang, Jau Gasem, Nat Lampang. Nat Lampang is a surname. And he was born on a Wednesday. And that Wednesday was the 24th of November in the year 2455 BE. BE means Buddhist era, so 2455 years after the Buddha. It's 102 years ago now in 2014. Now it's 2557. Lumpur Gasem was born in 2455, and he was born with Ramsey Kam, which is the fourth rising phase in Duen Yi, moon 20, lunar 20th lunar month they call it in Thai. In the northern quarter, in Pi Chuat, the year of the rat, in the Ratanagosin year of 131, so the year 131 Ratanagosin, and he was, of course, born as a male young boy, and was given the name Chao Noi Nu, and the surname of his family was Nat Lampang. This surname was later changed to the surname Mani Arun, which means gem of the dawn. Lumpur Gasem's family were courtiers of the court of the Mamato Pontri Jau Punyawad Wong Manit, who was the Jau Luang, the count of the city, the very last one in Thai history, as there were still local city rulers of this manner before democracy. He was the last ruler of Lampang, and he came from Ban Tha Khao Muang in Tambon Vieng Nua, in Ampere Mueang, in Jangwat Lampang. And so Lumpur Gasem, of course, became ordained as a Buddhist monk. He fulfilled what would be a very boring list to recount and to listen to of mastery of academic Dhamma, and managed to travel to Dong and to learn and with many great practitioners and masters, and I don't mean magical masters or sorcerers, but which of course he almost certainly did learn, because all great Thai monks, even those who become Arya Sangha and Arahants, do learn this. And if not, then his amulets would not be so highly reputed, I suppose. But not what is focused on his life story, but his amulets are another story where everything is focused on the amulet and its maker. The amulet is extremely valuable, not as is in the case with many modern day sorcery amulets, although they may contain sorcery, and most definitely Buddhist blessings, which can be considered to have magical powers, if you like. And so that solves your points. But his amulets are considered to be extremely sacred, and there are many cases of devotees who claim that the amulet saved their lives or has changed their lives in many different ways. And so not only are they of monetary value and for fans and collectors or for devotees of the monk, they also have a value to people who seek protective amulets. But their greatest collectors are almost exclusively not only fine miniature Buddhist art, or if you like, amulet collectors of high esteem, but are also mostly true devotees of Luang Por Gesem, because a study of his amulets requires also a study of his life, and that a study of his life results in minimum a great respect for the practice and the perseverance of this monk, who renounced more than most who we might know in this century, and who displayed unbreakability to the point where one just really has to accept his great advancements. And so, very sacred amulets from Luang Por Gesem came and go. His studies were immense, but his practice was even greater. And so, before we look at his amulets, we shall finalize with some academic data. Luang Por sadly passed away on the 15th of January in the year 2539 Buddhist era, which was Sip Et Kam, the 11th phase of the moon in Dön Song, the second lunar month, and he was 83 years old and had passed 64 years as an ordained Buddhist monk. His head on his corpse has what Thai Buddhist people and his devotees believe to be a miraculous occurrence, namely that it does not rot or decay. It is said and told by the overseers of his temple when devotees visit his corpse to pay reverence that they are not allowed to perform the Benjangoppadit, which is the five-pointed kneeling bowing as performed normally in Thailand to Buddhist monks or to Buddha images or deities with the three bows, rather that one is only allowed to and asked to place one's hands together in front of the chest in reverence or respect or mutual respect, because this is what Luang Por Gesem wanted and did not want people to get on their knees and bow to him. This is also a sign he had lost his atta and felt no need to. He had lost his sense of a self to protect or to be revered, which would mean he is Arya Sangha and an enlightened one through purification. So there is a Kata Busha. There are many Kata Busha for devotees of Luang Por Gesem. But if you have amulets, there is one Kata in particular which should always be preceded by performing the Mahanamatsakara 3 times first to the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, which if you don't know, it goes like this. Namo Tatsa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tatsa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tatsa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. After this has been performed, then one can perform the kata for Luang Por Gesem, which goes like this. Opasa, Opasa, Ajaryo, Menato, Pante Hotu, Ayasama, Kemago, Piku, Menato, Pante Hotu, Ajaryang me, Vantamehang, Sankhang Namami. You can chant this multiple times if you wish, and if you get good at it, and so you can forget trying to concentrate on pronouncing it and just chant it fluently and focus on Luang Por Gesem and your faith in his practices, then it would sound like this. Opasa, Opasa, Ajaryo Minato, Pante Hoto, Ayasama, Kemago, Piku, Minato, Pante Hoto, Ajaryang me, Vantamehang, Sankhang Namami. The first amulet of the first Geji Ajahn of the 5 provinces, Luang Por Gesem, Kemago, and the study of his amulets begins with a vertically long, small coin, which is known as the Rien Nang Liao Pi Song Ha Ning Si. The Lien Nang Liao 2514 BE, and it features an image of Luang Por Gesem, Kemago, standing with his arms crossed and his hands over where a layperson would have their belt buckle or where a monk would have his belt sash. So over his belt sash. And above him is some lettering, and to each side is some ganok. Ganok is a decorative Thai, Lai Thai, classical Thai fine line illustration and decorative artwork school of thought. And so the borders, the bottom 2/3 of the coin, which is bullet-shaped, flat and tall standing. So the borders around the image of Luang Por Gesem have Lai Ganok. Ganok can be any element, it can be earth, air, water, fire. In this case, they look to be fire or water. I think they are water. Could be waves. The rear face has various Kom Akara, not in Lana writing, so Lana stylized Kom Sanskrit, rather in Thai Kom, which is more representative of central Thailand, but in the northern Lana areas you can find both. So the lettering centering is in calm, in the top half of the coin. The coin has a copper ring through the hole in the top for a pendant. There is a line 2/3 of the way down from the rear face of the coin, separating the Kom Akarat, which should have 3 embossed little domes next to the bottom letter of Akarat, and then the separating line. And below that is Thai writing and says Tiraluk. Wat Nang Liao, which means a memorial amulet in 2514 is the year at the bottom of the coin. Just under the line it says Tiraluk in Thai, which means souvenir or memorial issue, and the line in the middle says Wat Nang Liao. The rear face of the amulet has a letter Na on the top and the following kata in Kom. Na sappe chana sukhita hontu. Na, and then sappe cha on the top line, then na sukhi on the second line down, and the last and third line down is ta ho, and the bottom is a N and a T and a U. Hontu. Na sape chana sukhita hontu. This will bring great happiness to use this kata if you own this amulet, which is extremely difficult to find. One should study the front face. If we can bring the front face to our inspection once again and look at the surface of it. If we could enlarge the surface and look above Lungpo Gaseim's head and around the edges of the amulet, and look at the surface of the evenness or unevenness of the surface, because this will be very different from fakes. Very different indeed, and one should look at different surfaces when one finds different incidences of this coin. And once one has familiarized oneself with the authenticity, and which surface is representative of the true authenticity, with coins one should know that up until 2500 BE, people only used the cutting method, so the edges of the coins had saw cutting lines on them, which were like diagonal file marks where it had been filed down after being cut. But between 2500 and 2520 BE was when the pump method, so making a big template with all of the coins on it and then cutting through it and pushing them through, pressing them, mass pressing, was begun. And during those 20 years, some editions, many editions, would make coins in both versions, using both methods of production or of manufacture after the smelting, when the pressing was done. And so this is 2514. One should study whether both types of manufacture were applied in the making of the authentic original edition, or if not, which kind was used for the making. If it was cut and then filed down, there will be file marks on the edge. If it was not, then there will be no file marks on the edge, unless they were manufactured in both methods by the temple. This is very important for the study and knowledge of recognizing true authentic Buddhist monk coins and other kinds of coin amulets. This is before we get to talk about the lettering which is embossed upon the amulets, which is another important factor. Just looking at the surfaces and the edges is a very, very important factor, especially in these days of CGI, where the cut and the pin and the design factors can be copied completely by computer. Could even be done by somebody with enough knowledge and who is fluent enough with his graphics, even with a mobile device and the right software. So, and then given to a factory to make, and so fakes are made like that. So the pin, which means looking at, oh, there should be, the left shoulder line should be slightly lower than the right. His left ear is rounder, he only has 2 lines on the inner side of the ear, 3 lines. This is not about this amulet, it's an example. And so one can use that, and that used to be the method, the first method for looking at, to recognize authentic coin amulets. But these days, since the invention of CGI, that can be copied very easily. But what cannot be copied is the aging and the surface of the brass and the edges, because hand filing is a lot of work, and fakes would become ever more expensive the more authentic you would make them if you had hand filing or ancient coin making methods to have to attempt to forge. And so this is part of what one has to focus upon also if one wishes to truly understand and recognize authentic amulets. For now, we shall now take a look at an authentic version of the coin in as many ways as the image allows possible. Basic points about the Rien Nang Liao of Luang Por Gesem. There are some basic points of recognition which are used as a formula and have become a common formula because this particular collector's edition of sacred monk coins from Luang Por Gesem, the Rien Nang Liao, has been terribly victimized by forgeries from various sources or various forgers. Some of them have been extremely badly made, so very rough copies, and some of them are very well made, and so well made that they have even fooled some of the best experts, which is the case. There was a time when a lot of these coins appeared on the Tapajan. The Tapajan has been famous for decades as the place where all the amulet experts, and also where both authentic and fake amulets are passed around on the market stalls. And in a jungle of fakery, many collectors speculate with the chance of risking their money that they might be buying a multi-million-dollar amulet or a multi-million baht amulet, which has happened and got into newspapers, and those very few cases, which were a mixture of luck and great expertise and ignorance, the ignorance of the seller, the great expertise of the buyer, and of course the luck that it just happened to get an authentic one in the right place and right time, has caused furor and caused the Tabacan to become probably the most well-known and first place that anybody in the know or not in the know would think of to go. But true people who are really in the know, who go there, do not go there to buy, they go there to sell, because it is not a safe place. Anyway, this particular coin from Luang Por Gesem, a lot of fake coins were introduced onto the market through the Tapajan, and some of they were so well faked that a few people started to buy them up in mass, thinking they had got a swag bag, and they turned out to be fake. And so then that caused a lot of people with lost money to dishonestly distribute those amulets to get their money back, which has caused a lot of people to be unlucky and to wear fake versions of this amulet. So one should begin, if one wishes to seek and wear this amulet, by looking at the basic points because of the forgeries. So firstly, one should know and study a little bit about the making of the coin. For example, was there only one model made? Or how many different metals were made of sacred metals? How many block mapping, the mother blocks, meaning the block presses or design templates, were made for the coin. Sometimes only one is made, sometimes 2, 3 or more are made, which would result in very slight variations or even definitive variations, such as a different image or script on the rear face, or very slightly different mistakes would cause casualties, meaning casualidad, meaning accidental markings which come from the press or which happened when the artisan made the block. And if one knows that there is a slight little chip or a slight bubble or a slight difference in curve that was on that block, then one can recognize which block an authentic coin came from. Once it's confirmed as authentic, if there were 3 block presses, then you could study how to recognize the different block presses. So firstly, one should know which block press and which metal one has of this coin, or one is looking at and considering to rent, meaning to buy, and if it was made in that metal. So for the example I'm going to use, I'm going to take the brazen metal, or Nia Tong Rakang, or how Nia Rakang Galai Tong. It's a kind of galvanized brass, or temple bell brass, I like to call it, because it is popularly called that. This does not necessarily mean that old temple bells have been smelted down, although this can be the case. Rather that it is the same brass used as is used for the making of Buddhist temple bells in Thailand. So I would say it's a galvanized brass. Of course, will be mixed in with yantra foils when it's smelted, and blocks of metal which are made from yantra foils and smelted into bricks and with inscriptions. But basically it's a brass-based metal in this particular pim, which we are currently examining and talking about. So, as I said, there are a few different official versions of this coin, authentic versions, ranging from the Pimnium, meaning the preferred collector's preferred accepted reference model, which devotees and high-end collectors know as Pim Niu Hai. Pim means model or design, which model it was. Niu means finger, and Hai means lost or missing finger. The missing finger model. This means that this particular version does not have a full, complete finger on one of the fingers of the hand. It's notable for its missing part of a finger that is not visible. There is also an authentic coin which has Niu Tem, Pim Niu Tem. Pim Niu Hai is a missing finger pim, and Pim Niu Tem is the full finger, meaning completely visible. that is less popular and less preferred and less expensive than Niu Hai. Niu Hai is easier to recognize and less copies of well-made fakes to be found, so it's a less risky and therefore more preferred and more expensive amulet. But both versions can be authentic. So first you should look if it is Niu Tem or Niu Hai. The following trademarks then should be observed and looked for as telltale signs when you are trying to authenticate one of these very famous and sacred monk coin amulets from Luang Por Gassem Kemen. The first point is that when you should look at the rim, the edges of the drilled hole of the pendant ring at the top of the amulet. It should be very sharp and defined, so it should be very clear cut. It shouldn't be all rounded and blurry or worn down, even though it's an old amulet. It was a very clearly cut hole, and so if it's looking rounded or all smoothed off, then it's most probably fake. The second point is you have to turn the amulet to look on the rear face of the amulet, because it's difficult to see sometimes. Will mostly be apparent from where we are looking towards the back of the amulet on our left, or on the left side of the back face of the amulet. You will see a double-edged rim. It has a double edge, but it's more visible on the left side in most cases, that the edge of the rear face actually have a double edge, double rim, so it's like a wall, but it can be very difficult to see, so you will need to use an eye loupe most probably, or look at the magnified version on your screen. You will see the second line on the inner side vertically going down. So only if it has only a single edge rim on the back side instead of a double walled raised edge, even if it's very subtle to see, it should be there, then for sure it is fake. So after one has confirmed that, one should look to what we call in Thai, look upon the surface or anywhere around the surfaces of the amulet and the edges for Kai Pla. Kai Pla means fish eggs. What this means is the little bubbles or bobbles which might occur, which are little droplets from the pressing of the coins in their molten state and from the templates, that you get little irregularities on the surface raised up. These are normally used when looking at the pim, meaning the shape and the features of the amulet, which I have already stated used to be, and still is, the first thing you look at, but used to be one of the most important aspects to look at for recognition, and since the advent of CGI computer technology, it is less important because it's the easiest bit to copy. The hardest bit to copy is to get the mixture of sacred metals exactly right, to have the same color, tone and effect, and the aging, to fake the aging. He who knows about aging processes of metals through environmental and time, environmental changes and the passage of time, and has enough experience with visual comparison and enough technical knowledge, he will not be fooled. So it's easier to recognize, once having confirmed the pim, the features of the face of the amulet, the front and rear face and the imagery to be correct. Then one will look for the little irregularities of the template which come out on the coin, which is what I'm talking now, the Kai Pla, the residues and irregularities on the surface of the amulets and of the image on the images within the amulet. Kai Pla is normal. to have an authentic amulet, and even fakes are done so. These small lumps or irregularities, called fish eggs because of their tiny little round shape, they should be very sharp and defined relief, so very clear and clear cut and defined in the authentic amulet. Even fakes, though, they deliberately put these marks, and these marks happen just because the same method is used to press fake amulets as real amulets, and so these are accidental or random things that happen. But when a certain mark that comes from the template, which can be technically called a mistake, but is actually seen to be part of the authentication and part of what should be on the original amulet once an amulet becomes classic, famous and collectible. So whether you see these marks as a flaw or as a mark of perfection is very arguable depending on your point of view. I don't see them as flaws, I see them as marks of authenticity. I don't know what a mark of perfection is except for purity of an arhat, like a Buddha, so I don't think that comes into it. I would just call them marks of recognition and marks of originality, or part of what makes it original and inimitable, uncopyable, which is the issue we are focusing on, copying and forging. And so even fakes, they deliberately put these marks, which are supposed to happen in the true smelting methods, and it's what causes the evenness of the surface of each amulet to be slightly different, and that's what gives each amulet of the same edition and same model an individuality and makes it different from the amulet next to it. Fakes will differ in this, that if an amulet is seen to have a kaibla or some kind of irregularity that is notable. I would like to give an example. The Prakring Chinabanchon of Luang Pu Tim, well, everybody knows Luang Pu Tim of the Pakompeng Pongkai Paigoman of Rayong province. His famous Prakring has a little dent or a hole in the chest on the left breast, just above the robes of the Buddha, and so it's actually seen to be part of what makes that the original amulet. So that's a good example. And so people who copy it, if they make a good copy, they will have to take that small flaw, technical flaw, and incorporate it into the forgery. If not, those who know of the flaw and have noticed it will see that it is a forgery. So even flaws are subject to forgery, and in fact good forgeries focus on the flaws used for recognition and authentication of amulets. So one should know to recognize the authentic kaibla, and that it is clear and not blurry. If the kaibla is blurry, the little bubbles are blurry, then it's fake, most probably. Now, the fourth point is to turn the amulet and look at the front face and the edges. So the edge of the amulet has the back face edge and the front face edge. If we look at the front face edge of the amulet, we will see, although it is a double-edged and much more visibly double-edged wall around the edge of the front of the amulet, the outer edge of the front face of the amulet, the outside of the frame, is smooth and curved. It is not angled and sharp and edged. It's very, as it is on the inner side of the front face, is more sharp, vertically coming up at 90 degrees, like a wall. but on the outer edge of the front face it is more rounded and curved. You can run your bare finger over the edge from the front face of the amulet and then down as if falling off a cliff, or down over the edge of a waterfall. Yeah, so it's like the edge of a waterfall, not like the edge of a cliff. On the outer side of the front face, the edge of a waterfall rolls over with a curve because it's fluid. The edge of a wall or a cliff goes straight down at 90 degrees. So if you run your finger over the edge, the outer edge of the front face of the amulet, you will see that it is not a straight drop. It has a round smoothness to it. This is very important. The fifth point is that the coin itself, if you view it from the edge, sideways on, you lay it down or you hold it flat between your fingers. By the way, never touch the surface of a coin amulet with your fingers. Always hold it by the edges, yeah? Or wear some felt gloves or kid gloves or something, because amulets will discolor, be it copper, navaloha, galaitong, silver. They will discolor from the fat and grease on your fingers. So hold it by the edges or hold it in a tool and look at it sideways through the eye loop. Now if you see that the amulet is very flat, meaning like a road that is new, not like a road that has had 10-ton trucks going over it for 20 years. If it bulges like a piece of wood that got wet, or a book that got wet, between the edges and the center, when it's viewed flat on the edge, then it is fake, because this is a very flat and straight amulet. It does not bulge. In the case of this particular brazen Narakang brass version, if it is very shiny and clean and polished surface with no stains, then it is most probably fake. Unless it is an excellent example that has really been kept in a box or kept sealed in its original state with as least contact with oxygen and moisture as possible, which is highly unlikely, but there are examples. Such examples are normally owned by very rich and serious collectors and only brought out for show or magazines. So it's quite unlikely if you're finding it on a marketplace. So the truth is, you know, brass, copper, as I said when I was talking about do not touch the surface with your fingers, rather than hold the coin amulets always by the edges and touch them at the minimal point possible. And even without touching, in the case of brass, sacred brass is a metal, it ages very easily and quickly, and it develops corrosion stains, different tones and colours and textures. Some of them grow even upwards, have to change the texture, and even the surface, if it is galaitong, which is a kind of covering, galvanized covering, then it can even break up, and then you will see a more iron or rusty or greeny looking inner of the coin. And so if it doesn't have stains and different coloured tones or some corrosion on the surface, then it is less likely to be authentic. In fact, it's probably fake. If it looks totally new in very perfect condition, then it will be very new and very fake, and you'll find out within a year or two after buying it, because you will see those stains starting to appear. And if you handle it, even within a month or two, you will see those stains appearing. So an authentic amulet of this particular edition and pin from Lumpoga Seim, near Nang Liao, it might not look very pretty in the sense that it doesn't have a really new shiny metal surface that looks perfect and flawless. That is not where the value or the beauty of this amulet lies. As experts know, and those who are long-term collectors will have developed this acquired taste. And so, you know, for some people a new car is the only choice, and for other people an old vintage is the only choice. The vintage car won't look as new and shiny as a Maserati, but that's not what ancient amulets are about, and Guru Monk Coin Collection is about. So, and I assume you know this if you are listening to this documentary. So we will continue that. If there are no stains and aged look to this amulet, then it's probably fake, because it's most likely to have corroded and should have some stains on the surface in most cases of authentic versions of this amulet. So that is some of the basic preliminaries which you should watch out for and train yourself in and gain knowledge in. Hope you can find info. I will be creating as much info as I can about this, and to continue make more searchable references. But one can go on forever about one coin even, and there's a lot of amulets for me to document. So I will finish with that there are many much more accurate methods of confirming the authenticity of this coin, which I and those in the know reserve and have reserved according to the promise of what I call the inner sanctum. It's an unspoken promise of what I call the inner sanctum of amulet experts, collectors and devotees, and it's a well-known secret of that particular group of people, but it is a secret to everybody else. You have to apologize for keeping secrets, but there's a deadly serious reason for keeping them in this game of amulets collection, because of their high value and sacredness. And the reason for me keeping these secrets, and the reason that amulet experts have kept these secrets for so long, is that because people who forge them, they study, and not people who study to recognize fake amulets, and not just collectors. The fakers and the forgers, they also study up on the expert methods of how to differentiate, so that they can beat those differentiation methods and circumvent them and adapt their forgeries to overcome those hurdles. And so it is important to keep some things secret, because if they are not, then the forgers will be able to replicate things so well that even the experts will have an extremely difficult job in differentiating authentic from fake. And we don't want that, do we? No, we don't. And so I will say that those basic points will normally be enough to easily differentiate, except for in the case of a very masterfully made fake amulet, which one would need an expert for to use the secret methods of recognition to differentiate. But in most cases there's a lot of very bad fakes around, and you can use the methods given if you inform yourself a little bit and accustom yourself to seeing authentic models, as I have made visible here on this video for you to examine as I talk, and use this for comparison when you are making your judgments at the amulet market tables and you see this amulet. I hope this can help you to perhaps get lucky and find an authentic Rian Nang Liao from Luang Por Ksem Kemago of Jangwat Lampang, of the Samnak Song Sutsan Trailak, who is perhaps, is definitely one of my 3 top famous Guru monks of Thai history. So this is Ajahn Spencer for Amulets TV, signing off.